Today I wanted to share with you a sensory experience to connect you to a tree that maybe is close to you. You might have a favorite tree, or you might want to just go outside and wander, look around and see if you find a tree that's calling to you. A tree that maybe you've never seen before. Perhaps a tree that is different to the other trees. Maybe the way it's growing, maybe its height, maybe it's a young tree, maybe it's an older tree. Both have much to offer us with their wisdom. And if you happen to be somewhere where you can't get outside to a tree, then you can do this exercise by imagining a tree. You can imagine an exotic tree, a tree that perhaps is native to where you live, or it could be a tree that is just in your mind. And anything goes for this exercise. So I'd like to start by just centering. If, like me, you're busy and you work, and maybe you've just popped outside because you have a lunch break or a period of time before you have to take care of the kids or the pets or anything else that's an obligation. Just really bring yourself here now. This time is for you, and I congratulate you for allowing yourself to have this time. It's really important. So, to ground ourselves here, I invite you to take some deep breaths. And perhaps that would be a seasonal breath. And just to explain that, you would be breathing in for spring. You would pause for summer, a time of relaxation. You would breathe out for fall. And then you would pause again for winter. So if it's helpful to be visualizing the seasons as you do some deep breathing, I invite you to do that. But however it feels good for you, just take a few deep breaths now and really center yourself to be in this space for you and nature right now. And once you feel peaceful, we can begin the exercise. So the first thing I'd invite you to do is to perhaps keep your eyes closed or soften your vision if that's preferable. And just listen. What can you hear? And whether that's something that's far away or something really close to you. Just allow your hearing to notice and try and identify where it's coming from and whether these noises are natural, being made by the weather or the animals or the plants and the trees, or whether it's your neighbor or traffic in the distance, a plane in the sky. It's all part of the soundscape. So just let it flow. Right now, close up, I can hear the water dropping from the trees. The snow is melting. And I can hear the wind in the trees. And the wind is all around us, not even in one direction. And if I listen further out, I can hear an airplane in the sky. Someone is going somewhere. and I can hear the leaves. The tree I've chosen is an oak tree, and oaks sometimes keep their leaves over winter, so I can hear the old leaves from last year just rattling and creating a really nice, comforting sound. You might be able to hear them too. So after you've been listening for a while, I invite you to perhaps close your eyes. And now we're going to focus on our sense of sight. And what I invite you to do is, as you're standing in front of the tree friend that you have chosen or has chosen you, when you open your eyes, look at that tree through the eyes of a child, as if this was the first time you ever saw a tree. And just look and notice. Perhaps notice the colors. Perhaps notice the bark and how that looks. Does your tree have leaves? What color are the leaves? Perhaps it has buds. It may be that the branches are far enough down, low enough that you can see the buds. And perhaps, depending where you are in the world, perhaps the buds are already flowering or even have flowered and you can see the beautiful colors. So take a few moments to just really take in the tree and how amazing is a tree. And now let's move on to touch. I invite you to go right up to your tree and experience it through touch. How does the bark feel to you? Is it soft? Does it have jagged edges? Are there lines? Just try touching. And you may want to walk around the tree and experience it from the different angles. I'm noticing on my tree that all the branches are on one side because the tree is next to other trees and it can only have the space to grow on one side. But I can tell from the touch that it has lots of little nodules, lots of little branches, and if I touch the leaves, they're crinkly. And as I said, I could hear them before, but now if I touch them, I know that they're rough and brittle and will probably fall apart if I take them in my hand. What else can you notice when you're touching your tree? How does that feel for you? And then perhaps take some time to use your sense of smell. Perhaps you could smell the bark. Perhaps you could smell the leaves. And if you're lucky enough to be somewhere where there are flowers or fruit or nuts, perhaps you could smell those too. So just take your time to perhaps walk around the tree and whatever you can find, touch and see how that feels to you. And depending where you are in the world, you may be able to get down and get closer to the roots of the tree. And perhaps there's moss on the tree that you can feel. Perhaps you can smell the moss. How does it feel down at the root of the trunk of the tree? And once you feel like you've investigated your tree and you're now feeling that connection to the tree, I'd invite you to perhaps close your eyes and maybe have your hand on the bark of the tree or some leaves, but connect yourself physically to that tree. And now try and sense what is happening underneath you and underneath that tree. Perhaps feel how your feet are located on the ground. Does that feel centering? Are you feeling connected to the earth? Or perhaps like me, you're on snow or sand or grass, depending where you are in the world. But what's happening underneath that tree? I'm sensing a network of roots that are connecting to mushrooms and to other trees. And I'm also sensing that this tree is a home. And I can hear a visitor. There are birds that make their home in this tree. So perhaps you can see a nest. Perhaps you can see a bird in the tree. And perhaps if you look closely, you can see insects on the tree, or fungi, or lichen that's growing on the tree. And then perhaps realize this tree is a home to many other living beings. So I invite you, whenever you would like to feel a deeper connection with nature, to go outside, find yourself a tree, and go through these steps and really feel that deeper connection and get to know one of your friendly trees a little bit better. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoy connecting to trees as much as I do.